All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 569 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football. I was going to do this episode yesterday. I was going to do it Friday evening for you guys, and it was basically going to talk about, the second and third round, but I decided to go ahead and put it all together, give you the 4 through 7 rounds as well. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to give you the entire grade of the Atlanta Falcons draft. I know I'm not wearing the Atlanta Falcons gear. I'm wearing Georgia Southern stuff. If you have not been paying attention, because not too many people do for some reason, the Georgia Southern Eagles just got finished beating Louisiana Monroe 35-8 in baseball. I mean, the baseball team just went insane on that baseball team. I mean, 35-8, that's 5 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, we're going to talk about this draft that the Falcons just had. Give you my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to give you my personal grade, and hopefully you guys sit back and enjoy it. If this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Hopefully that if you like the show, and if you haven't already or you've been thinking about it, hope you guys go over there to Spotify and subscribe. Become a listener over there. Let me know what you guys think about the whole setup. Give me some feedback on that Apple podcast. Give me a 5-star rating. Hit the like button. Also, check out firstandframerates.com. That is my website where, that's basically the hub of the show. And hopefully you guys will check all that out. I've said enough. And as far as that goes, let's talk about this draft. First pick that the Falcons made was number 8 overall. That was Bijan Robinson. Now, we're going to look at some stats, give you my opinions on all of these players. To be quite honest, I don't think that the Falcons necessarily needed Bijan Robinson, but I'm actually glad that they got him because they got a kid that basically could be used in so many different ways. And when you look at the offense, the way it's set up, it's a little predictable. Tal Alger's going to run the ball. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, all those guys are going to be looking for the football. But you don't have that one X factor guy that can do a little bit of everything. You don't know if he's in the backfield, if he's going to run between the tackles, which he can. You don't know if he's going to go out in the slot. You don't know if he's going to go to a swing pass. You don't know if it's going to be a screen with him. You can do a lot with Bijan Robinson. So I've noticed this is somewhat of a trend for Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. That first round pick is basically going to be a dynamic. They're going to try to make that as a dynamic pick, dynamic player. And everything after that, they find little small gems in the draft that could be good pieces for the team. And to be honest with you, if you really look at the draft outside of Jalen Mayfield, it seems like that has actually worked for the most part. It looked like there's no stopping that method as of right now. Excellent pick for Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson ran for 1580 last year. He also caught for 314, had 18 touchdowns on the ground, 2 touchdowns in the receiving game, had a total of 1849 all-purpose yards. Excellent stats right there. This kid has a high character. He plays well on the football field. For the most part, this is what you want. So, basically, the way that they're looking, looking at it as a dynamic player, they got exactly that. Some people say he's the best player in the draft, or whatever the case may be. I personally feel that he's probably the most, have the most ability in the draft. He can do more things than anybody else that was in the draft. But that is going to be yet to be seen once they actually go out there. But I like the pick. I like the pick overall. I am 100% in, and I do understand what they're doing. Now, the next pick they had was Matthew Bergeron. I think I said that right. Now, Bergeron, Canadian offensive lineman, played tackle, going to move into the guard position. Looks pretty good coming out of, Syracuse. Here's a stat right here, man. He played 425 offensive snaps, had 20 knockdown blocks on the field for every snap for 4 out of his 5 first string appearances. Syracuse, for the most part, they ran the ball very well, and he was in the starting lineup. And this is really good. I mean, this goes along with what the Falcons like to do as far as run first or just being a run oriented team. that left guard position has been ridiculous for the past, couple of years. Jalen Mayfield was supposed to be that guy. That didn't plan out. So I think this guy is probably going to end up solidifying that spot. I don't see how not, how he wouldn't, unless something, he's like in a culture shock like Jalen Mayfield and can't handle it. But listening to his interview with the Falcons or with the Falcons media, it sounds like he's ready to go. He has like this, confident, he's very confident about himself and what he's able to bring to the table. And at that size, man, I just don't see how you're not going to be able to get 6'5", 315. He's probably going to get at about 320 by the time it's time to go. If he gets on the field, pretty sure he will. And he's probably going to be able to knock some guys down. I mean, him and Lindstrom, him learning from Lindstrom is going to be really, really good. So I think this is another excellent pickup for the team. Now, the next pick, to me, I didn't know anything about the next, I'll say 2 picks, to be honest. And I kind of feel bad because I didn't know about pick number 4. But I don't know much about this 3rd pick. I was kind of in the weeds about this, but we're going to talk about this one right now. Zach Harrison at Ohio State, defensive end edge rusher, basically, played pretty well for the most part. I mean, he doesn't have bad stats. Seems like he's kind of, raw talent. They're probably going to try to, work him up to be a pass rusher or a perennial pass rusher. And with guys like Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, you got Arnold Ebiketie, you got Lorenzo Carter, you got a lot of guys in that front 7 that's really going to be able to show him some things. I'm not going to think they're going to need to know, he needs to know everything, but there's some things that he's going to probably learn: technique, movement, how to separate, how to get around the tackles. I think this is a pretty good pick. You also have D'Angelo Malone and others that are there as well. He's going to be able to fit right in, I think, because it's not like they're going to ask him to do so much right away. So for the most part, he should be okay coming in, learning. They'll probably put him in on a few things, a few situational plays. I would not be surprised if he plays a little bit of special teams or whatever the case may be. They're going to get him out there so he can be acclimated with the speed of the game. And that's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. At 6'6", 268, you really can't deny that he has a size. I mean, he had 20 solo tackles, 14 assisted, 34 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss. That's actually really good. And I think he had a pretty good couple of good plays in the Georgia the playoff game. So he knows how to play the position. 3.5 sacks last year, also an interception. He had 3. I think he had 2 or 3 forced fumbles. He had 1 forced fumble last year, and that's really cool. So he's a little versatile as well. And with the guys that he's going to be under, I think it's going to serve him very well to be under all that leadership. Maybe 2024, 2025, you'll probably hear this guy's name a little bit more. Now, there's a guy named that you're going to hear. This next guy I'm talking about, you're going to hear about this name. And for him to fall all the way down to the 4th round was actually criminal, but I understand why. I mean, the guy's listed at 5'10". If he was 6'2", it would have been a 1st round pick. With the type of production that this guy put in, he would have been a 1st round pick. And I'm talking about Clark Phillips III out of Utah. This kid is phenomenal. I heard of him. I knew of him. I really didn't say much about him because I'm like, okay, he's usually out there on the West Coast playing ball. By that time, I'm usually being in bed. I don't watch West Coast ball like that. But, man, I missed a lot on this kid. Let me tell you something about him. Standing at 5'10", 180, probably going to bulk up to probably about 190, 195. This kid can move. This kid got hands. He doesn't mind tackling. He doesn't mind getting into people's face. And for him to be the defensive player of the year in 2022 for the Pac-12 is, like I said, I don't understand how this kid made it this far down. He should have been a 2nd round pick. And like I said, if he would have been 6 foot or above, he would have been a 1st round pick. Now, let me tell you some of these stats that this kid had. I'm not even going to get into 2022 yet. I'm just going to go to 2021. 2021, he had 45 solo tackles, 16 assisted tackles, 61 total tackles in all. 1 tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. Also had a touchdown. Now, in 2022, He didn't tackle that much. He had a total of 24 tackles, 16 solo, 8 assisted, but he had 6 interceptions. He also had a sack and 6 interceptions. Over his career, he had like a total of 9 interceptions. 4 of them was for touchdowns. I mean, look, I know that, a lot of people love to talk about shutdown corners or whatever the case may be. It's AJ Terrell, a shutdown corner. Is Marcus Lattimore, is he a shutdown corner? Sauce Gardner was a guy that I wouldn't mind picking up last year, but we ended up getting Drake London. Sauce Gardner, shutdown corner. This kid, if he plays above his height, if he's at 5'10" and he could play like he's 6'1", this kid is going to be phenomenal, because you like to have a bigger cornerback in the league, but I think he'll be able to hold his own. Basically, that I know, I didn't say basically, but especially I know that the fact that this kid don't mind going in and tackle. I mean, and look, I wouldn't be surprised if Clark Phillips is starting day one. And that's nothing against Jeff Okudah or Mike Hughes. I wouldn't be surprised he'd be starting day one, at least at the nickel. This kid is absolutely great. I've been watching some film on him. I've seen what he's done. And I'm sitting back like, damn, I wish I would be able to go. And I wish I'd be able to go and watch more West Coast ball, because me living on the East Coast, I don't get to see that much. It's kind of it's kind of disappointing. But, time changes all that. He had 13 passes defended in 2021. This kid is a physical cornerback. 6 passes defended in 2022. Unanimous All-American and Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. How did this guy make it to the 4th round? I do not understand. That is, honestly, that even if he's at 5'10", that's insane. But if he's at 6'1", 6'2", this kid is a first-round pick. Probably first round if he's 6'1", 6'2", at least second. But excellent pickup by the Falcons. Probably the steal of the draft. Speaking of steal of the draft, the next person that we're going to talk about here is DeMarco Hellmans. A lot of people say this kid could be the steal of the draft as well. Standing at 6'1", 208 out of Alabama. He was the leading tackler for the Crimson Tide. Now that says a lot when you got guys like Will Anderson and company on that team. So that says a lot about being a leading tackler. Nevertheless, he had 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. He also had 3 interceptions in 2021, 3 pass defense, and I think he had a total of 87 tackles. He had 67 solo tackles in 2022. Also had 41 assisted tackles. So he's all over the ball. I don't know how this is going to play out, because you got Jesse Bates, you got Richie Grant. You don't know where they're going to try to move him around. Is he a safety? Can he play up as a cornerback? I'm going to tell you right now, there's no situation where you don't think you have too many corners, especially right now in the NFL as a passing league. It's going to be that case. So there's nothing wrong with bringing another guy in. These 2 guys right here, Clark and DeMarco from Utah. Now, these are some excellent pickups, right? Absolutely phenomenal pickups, especially Clark. Clark Phillips is, wow. I did not see this coming at all, So, nevertheless, we're going to jump over to the last pick, which was Javon Gwynn. Not much stats on him. One thing I will say, based on the website, South Carolina Gamecocks, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's another story for another day. He played the right guard position 2 times in right, permanent team captain. Started 47 games for Carolina, tying 4th for the all-time schools list, and while tying 2nd all-time list with 47 consecutive starts. So one thing about this kid, he is reliable. He's durable. If you're going to be playing offensive line and you're able to be on the field that long in college, it's going to probably end up leaking over to the NFL. This pick right here is probably more depth than anything, because our offensive line did have a lot of troubles and struggles. And it just basically put other guys on the team on notice. Like, look, if you're not going to be able to keep up, guys like Bergeron and Gwynn are going to take your place. I think Bergeron is going to go ahead and get that left tackle position. The right tackle position, This is what he played. He played right tackle. Lindstrom's not going nowhere. And Lindstrom, you got McGarry, which is, he's a little shaky. And you got Jake Matthews. Those three guys, you kind of know they're not going nowhere. Dahlman, Hennessy, we'll see how that plays out with them. But for the most part, this could be I'll be honest with you, they did re-sign Caleb McGarry, but it could be a situation if these two guys, Bergeron and Wynn, actually play pretty well, look like that it could be some changes up on that line. And overall, all of these picks right here are fairly solid. I'm going to give you a grade on them. For the most part, I give this a solid B. Not even a B plus or B minus. I think it's a B. Bijan Robinson is absolutely a great pick. But when you look at everything else after that, every single pick right here was just full of needs. This is not like the draft of last year where you saw some flashes from pretty much everybody. I think outside of Bijan and Clark Phillips, you don't have much flash here. You got a lot of guys that we needed that was need. We got a lot of guys that was picked up that was based on need and tough grit and production. And it look like all these guys are about their business. You don't hear nothing crazy about none of these players. They just want to play football. And I think that's what Arthur Smith wanted at the end of the day. Everything for the most part has been addressed. The line and the trenches, secondary. I'm actually surprised that we didn't go more of a nastier style of players. We got players that's just basically solid. We didn't get anybody that's going to be I would have had like another Clark Phillips style type of player, a guy that don't mind going after the ball, don't mind tackling, don't mind doing. And you may have that in DeMarco. You may have that in DeMarco Hellmans. You just don't know. He was the leading tackler for the Crimson Tide, so you may have that guy. Same thing with Zach. Same thing with Zach Harrison. You may have that guy, but they just don't jump out like you thought they would. But nevertheless, I think that this was pretty much a B. You could probably go up and make it B plus, but you can't say that they did anything wrong here. That every pick right here was pretty, on point. They weren't like, oh my God, we got a home run pick, or it was nothing like, oh man, no, these picks suck. No, it just seemed like they got fairly solid players. And Bijan and Clark Phillips look like they're absolutely dynamic, and the rest of the guys look like they're going to be very solid. We'll just see how that play out. Now, before I go on, I want to say this. I am actually surprised that you have a lot of players, well, I ain't gonna play it, but fans, they're clamoring about us not getting a wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have had Jalen Hyatt, but that I was big on Jalen Hyatt before we got Mac Hollins. Once we got Mac Hollins, I kind of shied away from that, but I wasn't against it. Now, we ended up getting Scotty Miller as well. Also, Kadero Hodge was re-signed. So it really didn't make sense because those group of receivers are already good money. They're straight. But if you didn't get any of those guys, I would have been extremely upset we didn't get Jalen Hyatt. He still would have been nice on the team, but it is what it is. Besides, Bijan Robinson can catch out the backfield, or he can run routes. So this is overall it's an excellent draft, but I don't give them anything, lower than a B, maybe B plus. Fairly solid. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think, man. B. I give it a solid B. Not bad at all. I think the Falcons are still on their way to do some good things. I know people are feeling some type of way about the Georgia Bulldogs. Pretty much most of their defense going up to the Eagles. Hey, man, I get it. I'm not a big Georgia Bulldogs fan, but look, I'm not going to lie. I was on board of getting Nolan Smith. That is one thing that fans want Georgia players because their proximity and they love those teams. But it comes to a point where that talent is too good to ignore. And it was getting to it's basically that's how I felt. The talent is too good to ignore. I don't care if Jalen Carter played for Clemson, UNC, and he played for Miami. It doesn't matter. He was that good. I could see us getting that. Same thing with Nolan Smith. I don't care if he played for Maryland or whatever the case may be, and so on and so on. It got to the point where it became undeniable. But I'm a Georgia Southern Eagle, true and true. I wish Calvin Treese gets on the team. Najee Harris as well. what's his name? Amari Jones. Those guys are athletes. Those guys should get on the team. And that's all I got to say, man. I'm going to get up out of here, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the 5-star rating on that Apple chart. And check out my website, too, firstandframerates.com. All right, y'all. I'm going to get out of here. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.